Lyra Dane's hands ached as she pried the last bit of crystalline ore from the wall of the asteroid mine. The tunnels were narrow, dimly lit, and smelled faintly of metal and dust. Every day, the same routine: mine, haul, repair broken machinery, and hope to survive another shift. Around her, the other workers moved like shadows, hunched and silent, their eyes tired and dull. Life in the mining colony was not made for dreaming. It was made for survival. She wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand and listened to the rumble of machinery. The colony's engines vibrated beneath her feet, sending tiny tremors up her legs. The constant hum of generators and drills was almost comforting, a reminder that she was alive. Yet, for all the movement and sound, she felt trapped. She had been sent here as repayment for her family's debts. There was no future in the tunnels, only work, and the faint hope that one day she might be noticed for something more than her ability to haul ore. Lyra's mind wandered to the stories her grandmother had told her before the debts forced them apart. Tales of humans traveling among the stars, building colonies, and creating wonders far beyond any machine. Lyra had believed in those stories when she was young. Now in the tunnels, the stars felt impossibly far away. The work was grueling. Each crystal shard she extracted was heavy, jagged, and cutting. Each one was also worth credits to the corporation, though most of those credits never reached the workers. Instead, the supervisors, clad in sleek uniforms and small displays of authority, took what they wanted, leaving the miners with bare rations and worn-out suits. "Dane," a voice called from the tunnel's mouth. It was Marek, a tall miner with arms like twisted steel cables. "You done there?" Lyra glanced up. He was carrying a load much heavier than she could manage. "Almost," she said, her voice hoarse from the dust. She set the last shard into the transport container, careful not to chip it. "Just give me a minute." Marek grunted, checking the container. "Hurry, we don't want the supervisors breathing down our necks." Lyra nodded, her stomach twisting with a mix of fatigue and frustration. Every day was a race against exhaustion, against oversight, against the small mistakes that could cost her a shift, or worse. As she followed Marek through the tunnels toward the lift that would take them back to the surface, she couldn't help but glance at the walls. The crystalline veins in the rock were beautiful, glowing faintly with their own light. If the supervisors ever appreciated beauty, perhaps life would be easier. But they didn't. They only cared about extraction rates and efficiency. Back at the surface, the colony sprawled like a small city stacked against the asteroid's curvature. Buildings were haphazardly placed, connected by a web of metal walkways and pneumatic tubes. Cargo shuttles hissed as they unloaded new supplies, and drones flew in precise patterns, repairing and monitoring. Despite the chaos, there was order, imposed from above, by people who had never felt the strain of the tunnels. Lyra and Marek placed the ore containers on the conveyor belt, watching as the machines sorted and processed the material. She glanced around, noticing how few humans were in supervisory roles. Almost all decisions came from the corporation's AI administrators. They were efficient, precise, and unyielding, making life easier for the company but almost impossible for the miners. It was then that a ship descended from the station above. Sleek, silver, and unlike any cargo vessel Lyra had seen, it landed in the colony's docking bay with a quiet hum, rather than the usual screech of metal on metal. Workers paused, staring as a figure emerged, clad in a uniform that reflected light like polished armor. The air seemed to shift around them. "This is unusual," Marek muttered. "Not a corporate shuttle." Lyra's curiosity stirred. She had learned to notice things others missed, small details, inconsistencies, patterns in machinery. Perhaps she could also see patterns in people. This newcomer was different. She could feel it. The figure's eyes, though metallic in hue, seemed to scan the colony not for flaws but for potential. When they finally looked at her, Lyra felt a shiver. It was not judgmental or cruel. It was analytical, precise, and oddly encouraging. "You," the figure said, voice smooth and firm, "come with me." Lyra's heart raced. She had never been summoned like this before. Usually, summons meant trouble, fines, or reassignment. Yet something in the figure's tone hinted at opportunity, not punishment. "Me?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Yes," the figure replied, turning to leave. "Now." She exchanged a glance with Merrick, who raised an eyebrow. "Good luck," he muttered before returning to his work. Lyra followed the figure onto the ship. Inside, the walls glowed with a soft, steady light. There were no chairs, no machinery, only screens, floating panels, and a subtle hum of energy. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. "You are aware that the corporation does not send miners like you to the orbital station unless there is an exceptional reason," the figure said. "You have potential. I want to see it realized." Lyra swallowed. I don't understand." "You will," the figure said. "There is a system aboard this station that requires human ingenuity. It is inefficient and it is failing. I believe you can improve it." The idea seemed impossible. Lyra had fixed machinery, optimized processes, and solved minor crises. But an entire station, that was beyond anything she had imagined. Yet, as she looked around at the glowing panels, the floating data streams, and the hum of power coursing through the ship, she felt something she had not felt in a long time: hope. Over the next hours, the ship carried her away from the mining colony. The asteroid's tunnels became small and insignificant beneath the vastness of space. Lyra stared out at the stars, feeling a thrill she had thought was reserved for childhood dreams. For the first time, she imagined a future not dictated by debt or hardship, but by choice, skill, and courage. When they arrived at the orbital station, Lyra stepped onto a platform that seemed to float in the void. The station was immense, a ring of metal and light encircling a small planet below. Ships of every shape and size docked and departed. Humans mingled with aliens, and the energy of possibility pulsed through the corridors. Her guide led her to a training chamber, where holographic schematics of the station's energy, life support, and transportation systems swirled in the air. "Your task," the figure explained, "is to improve the flow of energy from the main reactors to the outer rings. The current system is losing efficiency, and it threatens the station's stability. I believe a human perspective will help." Lyra nodded, absorbing every detail. She studied the flow paths, the energy nodes, and the emergency protocols. Her mind raced with calculations, alternatives, and optimizations. She realized that small changes, rerouting power, adjusting timing, reprogramming certain subroutines, could double efficiency without risking safety. Hours turned into days as she worked tirelessly. Sleep was a luxury she often ignored, but the excitement of creating, solving, and innovating kept her awake. Other engineers, both human and alien, watched her in quiet curiosity. Many had doubted her arrival. Now they began to see that she might be more than a miner from the depths of an asteroid. Finally, she presented her solution to the station's administrators. The power rerouted perfectly, the energy flow stabilized, and the outer rings hummed with new efficiency. The AI supervisors monitored every parameter, and when all readings were within optimal ranges, one of them spoke. "Human intervention has exceeded expected outcomes. This individual demonstrates remarkable ingenuity." Lyra felt her chest swell. She had done it. She had transformed from a miner trapped in darkness to someone who could shape the life of a station. For the first time, she sensed the possibility of respect, not just survival. The figure who had brought her here nodded in approval. "You see what humans can do when they are given the opportunity," Lyra smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. "I think I do," she said. As she left the chamber, her mind wandered back to the mining colony. She remembered the tunnels, the shadows, the dust. She no longer felt defeated. She felt determined. The stars were no longer distant, they were within reach. and she intended to show the universe just how far a human mind could travel. But somewhere, deep in the corridors of the orbital station, a shadow moved. A rival engineer had noticed her success. Not everyone was pleased to see a miner rise so quickly. Lyra had achieved a victory, but she was only at the beginning of her journey. Challenges, competition, and dangers lay ahead. Yet for now, she allowed herself a rare moment of pride. She had stepped out of the darkness and into the light. She had faced a life of servitude and glimpsed a future where she could be more than a worker. She could be a creator, a leader, a human proving that humanity was capable of greatness among the stars. And for Lyra Dane, that was only the beginning. Lyra woke to the soft hum of the station, her body aching from the long hours she had spent recalculating and rerouting energy flows. The chamber was empty now, the holographic schematics she had studied so carefully gone. Outside, the orbital station stretched like a silver web around the planet below, gleaming with light and life. It was beautiful, vast, and yet, she knew, fragile. She dressed quickly in the standard engineer uniform and stepped into the corridors. The other engineers moved past her, some nodding politely, others whispering in curiosity. Rumors of her success had already spread. Humans, once underestimated here, were beginning to gain notice. Some smiled, some frowned. Competition was fierce, and jealousy could be as dangerous as any mechanical failure. Lyra's guide, the metallic-eyed administrator known simply as Kieran, met her near the central atrium. "You have done well," he said. His voice was calm, but there was a hint of pride. "The station recognizes your skill, but this is only the beginning." "What do you mean?" Lyra asked. "The system you improved is stable, yes," Kieran said, "but the station faces challenges that cannot be solved by efficiency alone. There are political pressures, alien oversight, and unforeseen natural events. You must learn to navigate them, or your potential will remain unrealized." Lyra nodded, though her stomach twisted with apprehension. Political pressures and aliens. She had come from a mining colony where the only politics were which supervisor would yell today. The scale here was unimaginable. Over the next days, Lyra was introduced to the station's full complexity. Life support grids, communication arrays, and interstellar cargo logistics were all intertwined, forming a network that required constant vigilance. The humans aboard the station were few, most relegated to maintenance or routine tasks, while aliens occupied most of the technical and administrative positions. They were polite, precise, and often condescending. One morning, as Lyra studied a subsystem that managed the station's thermal balance, she heard a voice behind her. "Impressive work yesterday." She turned to see Raylock, a senior alien engineer, tall and angular, with skin that shimmered like polished bronze. His eyes were a deep green, and they seemed to pierce through her. "I must admit," he continued, "I did not expect a miner from an asteroid to outperform the experienced staff here." Lyra smiled politely, hiding the flicker of pride. "I just look at the system and try to find a better way." Raylock tilted his head, studying her. "Do not underestimate yourself. Humans have a way of seeing connections that others miss. I will watch your progress with interest." Though his words were not hostile, Lyra sensed caution. Among these aliens, respect was earned slowly, and she would have to prove herself repeatedly. Days turned into weeks. Lyra worked tirelessly, learning alien technical languages, understanding new energy models, and improving processes beyond what she thought possible. She developed algorithms to balance resource allocation, optimized maintenance schedules, and even proposed a redesign of cargo logistics that could save countless hours of work. But not everyone was pleased. Among the human engineers, whispers of resentment grew. One in particular, Joran, had been here for years and believed human miners had no place on a station of this caliber. He challenged her in meetings, questioned her calculations, and spread doubt among the others. Lyra ignored the whispers. She focused on solutions, letting results speak louder than words, yet she could not avoid tension entirely. One evening, after a long day recalibrating energy nodes in the outer rings, Joran approached her. "You think you're special because Kieran brought you here?" he asked, his voice low and sharp. "Do you realize how fragile this station is? One mistake and it could all collapse." "I understand the stakes," Lyra replied calmly, not meeting his gaze. "That's why I double-check every step," Joran scoffed. "We'll see if you still talk like that when something goes wrong." Lyra said nothing. She had no need to argue. Time would reveal who was competent, and she trusted her work. Then came the news that would test everything she had learned. The station's monitoring systems detected an unexpected solar flare, far larger than any recorded in the past decades. It was moving directly toward the station, carrying a surge of radiation that could disable energy grids, fry circuits, and threaten life support systems. The station's AI calculated less than 30 hours before critical failure might occur. A meeting was called in the central command chamber. Engineers, administrators, and delegates from allied alien civilizations crowded the room. The usual hum of controlled efficiency was replaced by tension and unease. Kieran turned to the assembly. "We have limited time. The solar flare will strike in approximately 28 hours. Manual intervention and ingenuity are required. Automated systems alone cannot guarantee survival." All eyes turned to the humans. They were few, inexperienced in interstellar crises, and often underestimated. But now the burden fell squarely on their shoulders. Lyra felt her chest tighten. This was unlike anything she had faced. The systems she had optimized were at risk, and the safety of the station and everyone aboard depended on her decisions. Yet beneath the fear, a spark of determination lit within her. Humans were underestimated precisely because they thought differently. That difference could save the station. Kieran approached her. "Lyra Dane, your knowledge of the energy distribution system is unmatched. You will lead the effort to stabilize the grids." Lyra swallowed. I will do my best." "You will do more than your best," Kieran said, his voice firm. "You will inspire the humans to rise to this challenge." Lyra assembled a team of human engineers. They were nervous, inexperienced, and unsure of their own abilities. Many of them had never faced a crisis on this scale. She looked at each of them, reading their fear and doubt, and she spoke with clarity. "We can do this," she said. "We have the knowledge, the skill, and the creativity that no machine can replicate. If we work together, if we stay focused, we can protect this station. Humanity has a reputation for perseverance, for ingenuity, for solving problems others cannot. It is our turn now." The team listened, hesitated, and then nodded. Confidence was fragile, but Lyra's determination began to ignite it. Over the next hours, the station became a hive of controlled chaos. Lyra directed the rerouting of energy flows, monitored stress levels on critical conduits, and coordinated with alien engineers who provided specialized knowledge. The team worked in shifts, often skipping rest, driven by the urgency of the threat. At first, there were setbacks. Power surges overloaded secondary grids. Emergency protocols failed in places where calculations had been incomplete. Systems flickered, alarms blared, and tension mounted. But Lyra refused to panic. She recalculated, rerouted, and adapted, improvising solutions that no automated system could generate. By the second day, progress was evident. The human team, under Lyra's guidance, had stabilized key energy nodes, preventing catastrophic overload. Alien engineers, once skeptical, began to cooperate more openly, respecting the human insight that had guided them. Then, the flare's leading edge hit the outer shield of the station. Waves of radiation cascaded across sensors, causing minor disruptions in non-critical systems. Lyra's heart raced as alarms blared and lights flickered. She focused on the critical grids, issuing commands with precision. "Reinforce nodes 12 through 19, she shouted. "Divert auxiliary power to life support corridors. Maintain balance in the central reactor." Her team moved with synchronized efficiency, following her guidance as though she were an extension of the station itself. Minutes felt like hours, but gradually the grid stabilized. The flare passed the station, leaving it battered but intact. The energy readings were within safe parameters. Life support systems remained fully operational. The command chamber erupted with relief. Kieran approached Lyra once more, his metallic eyes gleaming. "You have done more than I anticipated. Not only have you stabilized the station, you have demonstrated what humanity is capable of in the face of overwhelming adversity." Lyra's chest heaved with exhaustion and triumph. She looked at her team, proud and weary, and realized that she had not only guided the systems but had inspired them to rise beyond fear. Even Raylock, the alien engineer who had once doubted her, nodded in approval. "Human ingenuity is formidable," he said. "I misjudged you." As she walked through the corridors later, Lyra felt a change in the station's atmosphere. Humans were no longer shadows in the background. They were respected partners, capable of brilliance and courage. Her success had not come from authority or title, but from problem-solving, determination, and the refusal to give up. Yet, Lyra knew the journey was far from over. Rival engineers, jealous of her accomplishments, still lurked. The station, though stable, was vulnerable to future threats. And beyond the orbital station, the vast galaxy waited, filled with challenges that would test every human skill. But for now, Lyra allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. From the depths of an asteroid mine, she had risen to lead in the orbiting heart of civilization. She had proven that humans, underestimated and overlooked, could shine when given opportunity. And as the stars glimmered beyond the station's hull, Lyra Dane felt the first real taste of freedom. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and doubt, yet she had emerged stronger. The universe was vast, but so was human potential. And she intended to explore every corner, showing the galaxy that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, leaders, and creators. For the first time in her life, she truly felt royal. The orbital station rested quietly now, bathed in the gentle glow of the nearby planet below. The solar flare had passed, and the immediate danger had been averted. Yet Lyra Dane did not feel relief. Her mind raced with calculations, contingency plans, and the knowledge that this station, and its people, were vulnerable in ways most would never understand. She walked through the main atrium, observing the human engineers she had led through the crisis. Their eyes were brighter now, filled with a confidence that had been absent when she first arrived. For some, this was their first taste of real achievement. For others, it was proof that humans could stand shoulder to shoulder with the galaxy's most skilled beings. Lyra smiled quietly. They had earned this moment, yet not everyone was pleased. Joran, the human engineer who had been her rival, stood near the central terminal, arms crossed, jaw tight. His usual smugness was tempered by unease. Even he could not ignore the station's recovery. Lyra approached him carefully. "You should be proud," she said softly. "We did this together." He scowled but did not reply. Instead, he walked away, muttering under his breath. Lyra did not need his approval. She had seen the future, and it belonged to those willing to rise above fear, doubt, and complacency. The peace was short-lived. A warning signal flashed across the station's central command. Incoming ships were detected at high velocity, bypassing normal docking procedures. They were heavily armed and moving in formation. Kieran appeared almost immediately, his metallic gaze scanning the readings. "Hostile forces approaching," he announced. "The corporation from the mining colony has learned of your success. They intend to reclaim control of the human contingent and the station's resources." Lyra's stomach tightened. She had anticipated challenges, but a direct assault was beyond anything she had yet faced. Still, the determination that had carried her through the flare now surged stronger. Humans were underestimated, but they were resilient, creative, and capable of strategy. If she could guide them through this, the station could survive, and humanity could shine. She gathered her team in the command chamber. "They think they can take us by force," she said, her voice firm. "They have ships, weapons, and numbers. We have something they do not: strategy, ingenuity, and the will to fight for every life here. If we work together, we can defend the station without unnecessary loss. We must be smarter, faster, and more coordinated than they expect." Her team listened intently. Fear was present, but it was mixed with determination. They had seen her lead before, and they trusted her judgment. The station's defenses were modest. Turrets lined the outer rings, but they had not been tested in real combat. Lyra quickly recalculated energy flows, rerouting power to the weapons and shields while maintaining life support and essential systems. She coordinated with alien engineers to predict enemy movements and optimize the station's response. When the hostile ships arrived, they unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. The station shook, alarms blared, and lights flickered. Lyra's team moved with precision, directing defensive fire, repairing damaged systems, and communicating with the central AI to anticipate enemy maneuvers. The battle was intense. Enemy ships adapted, trying to exploit weak points in the station's defenses. Lyra remained calm, her mind racing through possibilities. She ordered diversions, temporary power surges to confuse sensors, and strategic shutdowns to bait the attackers into predictable patterns. Hours passed like minutes. Lyra rarely ate or rested. Her focus was absolute, her commands concise and effective. Humans, inspired by her example, worked tirelessly alongside alien engineers, demonstrating creativity and problem-solving under pressure. At one point, a critical energy node was struck, threatening to overload the station's central reactor. Panic rose in the command chamber, but Lyra's voice cut through the chaos. "Divert auxiliary power to Node 17, she shouted. "Stabilize the conduit manually if you have to. Trust me, we can prevent the overload." Two engineers, human and alien, leapt into the maintenance shafts, working together to reroute energy and prevent catastrophe. The node stabilized and the station's systems hummed steadily once more. The team erupted in cheers, but Lyra did not smile. There was no time for celebration. The battle was not yet won. Using her understanding of the station's design, Lyra devised a plan to outmaneuver the attackers. She ordered smaller shuttle teams to create false targets, drawing enemy fire away from critical systems. She calculated energy bursts that could temporarily disable enemy shields, giving the station's turrets a chance to strike accurately. Her plan worked. One by one, the hostile ships were disabled, forced to retreat, or captured. The orbital station had survived the assault, intact and operational. The aftermath was tense. Kieran observed silently, his metallic eyes reflecting the devastation outside. Finally, he turned to Lyra. "You have not only saved the station," he said. "You have demonstrated that humans, often underestimated, can rise to challenges that even our most experienced officers hesitate to face. You have proven what humanity is capable of." Lyra exhaled slowly, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. She looked around at her team, exhausted, bruised, but triumphant. "We did it together," she said. "Humans, aliens, engineers, all of us. This station survives because we worked as one, not because of strength alone." News of the defense spread quickly. Humans aboard the station gained respect, not as laborers or subordinates, but as innovators and leaders. Lyra's name became known throughout the station as someone who had risen from obscurity, using intellect, courage, and collaboration to protect lives and resources. Even Joran, who had once opposed her, approached cautiously. "I misjudged you," he admitted. "You earned this." Lyra nodded, acknowledging his words without pride. "We all contributed," she said. "Now we need to ensure the station remains safe and prepared for whatever comes next." In the weeks that followed, Lyra worked to consolidate human leadership on the station. She organized training programs, teaching human engineers not only technical skills but strategies for crisis management. Humans became respected members of the station's governance, consulted in decisions that had once been handled solely by alien administrators. Lyra also continued her work on improving systems. She redesigned cargo logistics, enhanced energy distribution, and proposed projects that integrated human ingenuity with alien technology. Her efforts not only strengthened the station, but demonstrated that collaboration across species could achieve remarkable results. One evening, standing at the observation deck, Lyra gazed out at the stars. The planet below shimmered with oceans and clouds, while the station rotated steadily in orbit. She thought of the asteroid mine she had come from, of the tunnels, the dust, and the long, lonely shifts. She remembered the fear, the exhaustion, and the doubts. Now she was free, not from responsibility, but from limitation. She had transformed from a miner trapped in servitude into a leader whose ideas and actions shaped the destiny of a station. She felt a sense of pride that went beyond personal achievement. It was the pride of all humans who had worked together, who had risen above expectation, and who had shown that even the smallest beginnings could lead to greatness. Kieran joined her at the observation deck. "You have done well," he said. "The station thrives because of your vision and determination. Humanity has earned a place among those who guide its future." Lyra smiled, feeling the weight of his words. "It's only the beginning," she said. "There's so much more to do and so much more for humans to prove." "Then continue," Kieran replied. "The galaxy is vast. Opportunities, challenges, and discoveries await. You have shown the universe what humans can do. Now it is time to explore further." Lyra turned her gaze back to the stars, her heart swelling with possibility. The universe was wide, unpredictable, and full of danger, but also full of potential. Humans, underestimated for so long, had demonstrated courage, intellect, and resilience. She knew they could achieve anything they set their minds to. Below the station, cargo shuttles moved in orderly patterns. Engineers worked tirelessly to maintain and improve systems. Humans were no longer invisible, no longer shadows behind alien authority. They were creators, problem solvers, and leaders. Lyra Dane felt a quiet sense of triumph. She had faced hardship, danger, and doubt. She had survived a solar flare, repelled a hostile attack, and earned respect where none had been expected. Her journey had been long and arduous, but it had proven one thing beyond doubt. Humanity, when given the chance, could rise to greatness. As the station rotated silently in orbit, Lyra imagined the future. Other colonies, other stations, other worlds awaited. Humans would travel, learn, and lead, leaving their mark on the galaxy. She thought of the asteroid mines and how far she had come. From servitude to leadership, from obscurity to recognition, she had proven that human determination, creativity, and courage could achieve the impossible. And as she watched the stars, she felt a sense of belonging, purpose, and destiny. Humanity had faced challenges before, and it would face many more. But Lyra knew one thing for certain. With minds like hers and the countless others like her, humans would not only survive, they would thrive. The universe was vast, the challenges endless, but Lyra Dane smiled. She was ready, humanity was ready, and the stars were no longer distant, they were home.